How did you find out someone had a crush on you? Was leaving school one day and my small group of friends were hugging and saying bye, when this girl that I was into, but didn't know if she was into me, raised her arms up and says, "What about me?" It was the best hug I've ever had. That was in 2005, we've been together ever since. Had a girl keep banging my leg under the table at a young St. Swiss chalet in the fall of '91. I just thought our group was too tight together and she needed space. Turns out I'm just a clueless idiot. We've been together since April of '92, so luckily she was persistent. I was due in a couple weeks to move halfway across the country for my job, so I was hanging out with a local friend to say goodbye. That night I admitted I would have asked her out if I wasn't moving so far away. There was a moment of silence and she responded with, "Yeah, I probably would have said yes, you're quite the catch." Later that night we're lying on her bed watching anime. She gets up to use the bathroom, so I stretch my arms out. She comes back, sees me stretched out, says "ooh, an arm," and cuddles right up to me. "We're dating now, smile." I once had a girl introduce me to her friend like this: "This is Tim. I have a huge crush on him, but he hasn't figured it out yet." I guess she'd gotten tired of waiting for me to figure it out, lol. I was good friends with my crush. One night while texting he says, "We aren't just friends, right?" And that was the first time I realized even he has a thing for me and I wasn't just imagining the sparks between us. He was my first boyfriend. I don't think I'd have a relationship as healthy as that one. She worked at the McDonald's near my house. She kept giving me free bacon every time I ordered a McDouble. I don't eat pork. After like the third time, I go in the store to complain. The cashier calls up the girl in the back and she basically explains the bacon was her way of flirting with me. She was cute, so we did end up dating for a bit. When I was about 10, this girl in my class had a crush on me. She made it obvious, but I wasn't interested at the time. After school we never saw each other for a few years, then at 18 she apparently still had a crush on me. We've been married 18 years now. Edit, thanks for the awards. The day after she went back to France, after being here for 8 months, my coworker was like, "Well, now that she is gone, I can tell you she had a massive crush on you." Still devastated to this day I never picked up on it. I opened my high school yearbook from my sophomore year and found a message from a friend that we should hang out together and included her phone number. I only found it 18 years later and I feel horrible that I didn't see it because it probably made me look like an ass and hurt her feelings. When they broke things off with their fiancé because they had feelings for me, I was horrified. Woke up to her cuddling with me after a house party. Edit, we're friends of 10 years or more, drunk at a house party. She found me asleep and didn't want to risk driving, so she did the only thing she could think of. We were together for 3 years after that party, still friends too. Edit 2, imagine if roles were reversed. Oh, how edgy of you to think of something so original, rolling eyes face. They waited until they no longer had a crush on me and then told me that they used to have a crush on me. She offered to carry my jacket to the next class when I had to stop at the bathroom. Went to the next class and it was placed on the chair next to her and her best friend said, "Your boyfriend is here." I was young and shy. Did nothing. Regretted it. She was amazing. I was honestly just happy being her friend. A girl from one of my courses asked me if I wanted to bake cookies with her. I, a professional dumbass, was like, "Sure, I like cookies." A friend informed me that I had just agreed to a date. It was okay. The cookies were pretty good. Usually they tell me like 20 years later, which helped teenage me immensely. She literally stopped me as I was passing by with my friends and asked me if I remember us looking at each other at McDonald's. My crush told out mutual friend to tell me to ask her out. I proceeded to get rejected over text when I asked her to a date. Asked her out, she accepted and then told me she had a crush on me for some time. Sometimes you just got to go for it. You lose some, you win some. Back in 10th grade, I've been finding letters in my locker. There is a slit where anyone can put anything as long as it fits, for a month. Then one afternoon, I was really bored because it's a math class. I went to the washroom and there I found her, red-handed. She eventually found out that I knew that it was her and we've been together for 2 years now. We had a lockdown drill and at the time, I was in Spanish with one of her best friends. So she, very carefully and deliberately, crawls over to me from the other side of the room. She's 15, 6'2", and just army crawling her way across the room towards me. Literally everyone in the class, including the teacher, is just staring at this girl. Let's call her Maria. I'm sure if the teacher had a second to prepare, she would have told Maria not to do this. But, again, this is a big girl just army crawling her way across the floor. No one woke up and thought this would be what they would see that day. So, she gets across the room and just sits up next to me and greets me. She makes small talk, which is normal because we're kind of friends too, because we've hung out in groups before outside of school and we're also part of an after-school thing. So far, the army crawling is the only abnormal thing to happen here. Suddenly, she asks me, so is there anyone you like? And at the time, I did kind of like this one girl, that we'll call Elizabeth, but she's part of the group in the after-school thing and her best friend, and we're all about 15 to 16, so I didn't want to say her name, so I just said yay. Is it Elizabeth? Ah. You should also her out. But what if she won't? Maria had a very serious look on her face and being like, half her size, I was briefly scared for my safety because she also said this with a lot of authority. As it turns out, Elizabeth had a crush on me for weeks and just constantly talked about me to her friends, who'd repeatedly tell her to just ask me out, but that she was too scared to make the first move and they were all sick and tired of hearing about me. So, yeah, that's how I found out that Elizabeth had a crush on me. Asked her a few days later, because I was a pussy and was too scared to ask her out that same day or any of the other days I saw her, and we dated for the next 10 months or so. She was actually my first real girlfriend and is still one of my longest relationships to date. I was pretty sure my friend's little sister had a crush on me when she started following me around like a lost puppy. Then she randomly started calling me by my first and middle name. Then she found out my birthday from someone and started telling me our age difference. It was kind of cute until she decided she should tell her friends that we were dating. We were not dating. I had a nice conversation with her letting her know that her crush was flattering, but she was way too young for me and that she needed to stop telling people that we were dating since it was not true and could get me in a lot of trouble. In true typical teenager logic, she said that her parents wouldn't have a problem with it and I could date her if I wanted to. I was on a skating rink and there were a couple of girls hanging out by the benches and one of them screams to me as I roll by that the other one likes me. I didn't react to it to save the girl any more embarrassment as she was practically hiding. She left her phone number on my car windshield randomly. My wife didn't find it very amusing. She was a colleague who had heard I was leaving town. I wasn't, only going to be away for 2 weeks, and she took her chance by kissing me after we bumped into each other at a nightclub. It was a rare night off work for me. It's now 16 years and 3 kids later. So it worked out well for the both of us. We were really drunk and just talking crap when he said, "God, I had such a crush on you growing up." And I replied with, "What the shit? I had a crush on you." Nothing else came of it, but I realized that I really don't know when someone is interested. I just assume I'm seen as a friend. I briefly danced with a girl at a HS dance, before she told me one song was enough and went to the restroom. A few weeks later a mutual friend asked what I thought about her. I said that she was nice and cute, but she was obviously not into based on the dance. He told me to give it another shot. I asked her out later that day and we ended up dating for about a year. She went on a month-long vacation with some mutual friends, and I learned from said friends when they got back that she spent the entire time missing me. It was through a text once she got a boyfriend. I had my suspicions but didn't act on them because I knew I couldn't reciprocate the same feelings towards her. When I was in 7th grade, a boy wrote me the sweetest poem. I have it saved somewhere still. I still remember the line, "I'll take you to the movies, or even to the mall, even though I'm short, and even though you're tall. Mike, wherever you are, I hope you're happy and have the best woman ever." Edit. Aw, thanks everyone. Alas, we did not date, but this is because I was 12 and wasn't allowed. But I remember this poem and it's been over 30 years. I am mother to a short king myself and I hope he's as great as Mike the poet. Kind-hearted and romantic is a winning combination by anyone's standards. Lol, I remember in middle school getting a note in my locker that only said, "Would you like to go out?" I saw it and was very confused. Like weeks later this random guy from one of my classes came up to me and asked if I had an answer to his note. There was no name on the note, and looking back he must have been more nervous, but I barely knew him and I just said, "No, sorry," and kinda bowed my head a little and walked away as quick as possible. She came to school with her whole arm scarred with my name and a love heart, hadn't cleaned the blood so was fairly fresh. She told me she did it with a knife and wanted me to do the same. She was very quickly expelled after that and I learned a valuable lesson that girls can be crazy. The same way any man learns, her saying, "Hey, dummy, I like you, when are you going to ask me out on a date?" She called me, and asked why I had never asked her out on a date. She knew I was interested because I had told some friends that I was and they had told her. The reason I hadn't is because her brother and I were friends before I met her. When she called I told her I'd be thrilled to take her out, but I wanted to make sure it was cool with her brother first. He was cool with it and we've been together 18 years now. Dating a friend's sister could have turned out bad though, tbh.